Welcome back to the series. We're continuing our journey through the mind of Japan's most famous strategist, Miyamoto Musashi,
We are indeed.
and we're piecing together the mosaic of the Book of Five Rings, piece by piece.
Slowly but surely.
Right. And this is part 5 of our exploration. We've walked through the Earth Scroll, which was all about being grounded and solid. We've flowed with water, which was, adaptable and fluid. But this time around...
This time we strike the flint.
Exactly. We are talking about the Fire Scroll. And honestly, just the name itself carries a certain weight, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It suggests heat, energy,
Yeah.
maybe even a little bit of danger.
It really does. And I have to admit, when I first picked up this section of the text, I had a very specific expectation. I hear the word fire, and I just think of aggression.
Right, the typical Hollywood image.
Yeah, exactly. I think of a blazing inferno, burning down obstacles, high energy, screaming, brute force, just a samurai battle where everyone is yelling and charging forward.
And that is such a common trap. I mean, we are conditioned to equate fire with rage.
We really are.
We think that to be fiery is to be emotional, volatile, and explosive.
But as I started reading through your notes and looking at the different translations, I realized Musashi is talking about something almost completely opposite to that chaotic rage.
He is. In the context of this strategy, fire represents clarity. It represents the heat of engagement, yes, but it is a highly controlled heat.
Okay, so not a wildfire.
Right. Think of it less like a wildfire that just blindly consumes a forest and more like the blue flame of a welding torch.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
It is intense, it is dangerous, but it is focused entirely on a single point of change.
The wildfire versus the welding torch. We are actually going to put a note on the screen for everyone watching right here that says, fire is controlled intensity.
It's a crucial distinction, because if you go into this scroll thinking it is a guide on how to get angry effectively or how to hype yourself up before a big meeting, you are going to miss the entire point. The Fire Scroll is about reading the dynamic of a situation, the rhythm, the momentum, and then acting decisively to shift that dynamic in your favor.
So just to set the stage for everyone listening to this,
Mhm.
our mission for this discussion is to figure out how to navigate really high-stakes situations.
The pressure cookers.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Whether that is a negotiation that's totally gone off the rails, or a creative block that feels like a brick wall, or even just a difficult conversation with a partner that's starting to spiral into an argument.
We want to learn how to navigate those moments by mastering rhythm rather than just trying to push harder. It is about working smarter, not just louder.
I love that. And before we light the torch and get into the details, I want to drop this in right here.
Yeah.
If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It really helps us keep this whole exploration going.
It does. Okay, let's unpack the core concept. The Fire Scroll in plain English. You used the phrase controlled intensity earlier. Can we dig into that a little bit more? Because the word intensity can still feel a bit overwhelming to some people.
Sure, let's look at the source material. Musashi often describes the vantage point of the Fire Scroll as looking down from a high place.
Like having the high ground.
Yes, it is a perspective of dominance, but not dominance in an arrogant, chest-thumping kind of way. It is the dominance of perspective. It is about seeing the entire board.
So it's not the fog of war, it's the clarity of the firelight illuminating the entire room.
Precisely. And the central idea here is momentum. Musashi teaches that fire is about reading momentum, not forcing it. It is the ability to see the dynamic of situations.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, imagine a fire burning in a hearth. It moves, it consumes, it flickers, it changes direction instantly based on a draft from a window or a new piece of wood being thrown in. It is completely alive.
And you have to be able to read that shift as it happens.
You do, because Musashi says that in any battle, and for us, that could be a debate, a market trend, or a team project, there is a natural rhythm. Things rise and fall. People get energetic, and then they get tired. Arguments get heated, and then they cool off.
The Fire Scroll is about sensing those shifts before anyone else does.
Exactly.
One of the things that really stood out to me in the text was the focus on breaking deadlocks. Because we have all been there.
Oh, definitely.
Two forces are locked together. Maybe it is an argument that is just going in circles, the classic I'm right, no, I'm right loop.
Yeah.
Or a project where the team is just staring at a whiteboard, completely stuck.
That is exactly where the Fire Scroll shines. Musashi points out that when the situation is stagnant, victory does not come from pushing harder in the exact same direction.
Because if you are pushing against a brick wall and it isn't moving,
Pushing harder just exhausts you. You gain nothing.
So what do you do instead?
You change the pattern. You disrupt the rhythm. You apply fire to alter the fundamental state of the situation.
This feels like it connects back to that no-nonsense theme we've seen in the previous scrolls. Musashi really doesn't seem to have much patience for theory.
None at all. He has a lot of disdain for what he calls technical flourishes or flowery techniques.
Right.
In his era, there were sword schools that focused on beautiful, elaborate movements. They looked fantastic in a demonstration.
Like doing fancy tricks with the sword, twirling it around.
Exactly. And Musashi looked at that and said, essentially, that is going to get you defeated. He does not care if you look cool. He cares if it is effective. The fire scroll is about removing the unnecessary so you can see the situation for what it actually is.
Removing the unnecessary. That is such a perfect segue into our first major theme, which is rhythm. And specifically, the distinction between rhythm and speed, which, for our viewers who are putting on screen right now, rhythm is not speed.
This is one of the most common misconceptions. In strategy, in business, and honestly just in everyday life, we are entirely obsessed with speed.
We really are. It's the whole hustle culture thing, move fast and break things. The idea that if you aren't sprinting, you're losing.
But the sources are very clear here. Musashi writes that speed is not the essence of martial success.
That line stops me in my tracks every time I read it. I mean, this is a guy whose survival depended on hitting the other guy before the other guy hit him. And he says, speed isn't the essence. How does that even make sense?
Because speed, in the way most people use the word, implies a fast, busy spirit.
A busy spirit.
Yeah. Think about the last time you were truly rushing. Maybe you were late for a flight. You are fumbling with your keys. You drop your bag. You trip over your own feet. You are moving fast, technically speaking. But are you effective?
No, I'm a total mess. I'm usually making mistakes that end up costing me more effort to fix.
Exactly. You are reacting. You are frantic. Musashi says that when you rush, you get out of time. You become completely disjointed.
There's a beautiful analogy in the source material about the old pine tree melody. I'd love for you to explain that because it really painted a vivid picture for me.
It is a classic example from the text. Musashi talks about beginners trying to play this specific melody, the old pine tree, on a leather drum. Now, this is a piece of music that requires gravity. It requires open space between the notes.
But the beginners don't see it that way.
Right. The beginners try to play it fast. They think that virtuosity means hitting the drum as many times as possible in a short window.
They're just trying to shred.
They are trying to shred. And what happens? They get busy. They lose the beat entirely. The sound becomes cluttered and anxious. It's unpleasant to listen to, and it lacks any real power.
And how do the masters play it?
The masters play it with tranquility. They play it with pure deliberation. They might actually be moving their hands quickly when the sequence calls for it, but their spirit is calm. It is rhythmic.
It is the difference between a drummer who is just flailing around hoping to hit the cymbal and a drummer who is deep in the pocket.
Being in the pocket. That is the perfect way to phrase it.
It feels like you have all the room in the world, even if the tempo is incredibly high.
That is the difference. Rhythm is about pace, timing, and sequence. It exists in absolutely everything. The sources mention the rise and fall of a merchant's capital. That is a rhythm. You don't build wealth by frantically buying and selling at every minor fluctuation. You build it by understanding the broader rhythm of the market.
And it's the exact same with conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely. The harmony of a musician, the flow of a debate, everything has a beat. If you can hear that beat, you can control the interaction.
So, practically speaking, why is rhythm superior to just being fast?
Because a solid rhythm allows you to stay one step ahead of the noise. There is a concept outlined here called background timing versus foreground timing.
Okay, let's unpack this because this felt a little abstract when I was reading the text.
Yeah.
What exactly is foreground timing?
Think of foreground timing as the immediate stuff happening right in front of your face. It is the email that just pinged. It is the specific insult someone just threw at you. It is the stock ticker moving up and down by a single cent.
It's the noise.
It is the noise. And if you are only focused on the foreground, on reacting to every single blip, you are trapped. You are just swatting at flies.
Okay, and background timing.
Background timing is the macro view. It is seeing the overall trend. It is knowing that your toddler is crying, not because they hate the dinner you made, but because they skipped their nap earlier. That is background timing.
Oh, that is such a great example. If you react to the dinner, which is the foreground, you get into a shouting match with the toddler. If you react to the nap, the background, you just put them to bed.
Precisely. In a professional negotiation, Foreground timing is arguing over a specific minor dollar amount. Background timing is knowing that the other company just had a terrible quarter and they are absolutely desperate for a win to show they're bored.
Right.
If you know the background timing, you control the entire negotiation.
And if you lose that context, what happens then?
You lose the engagement. Musashi talks about the idea that if an opponent's rhythm becomes deranged, they collapse.
Deranged rhythm. That is a truly terrifying phrase.
It is, but it's very descriptive. Think about a sports team that starts panicking. They are down by a lot of points. They start rushing everything. They start passing the ball. They start shouting at each other on the field. Their rhythm is deranged. And what is the result?
They collapse. They get completely crushed.
They defeat themselves. Your goal, according to the Fire Scroll, is to keep your rhythm steady while disrupting theirs. You want to stay ahead of the confusion. You want to be the one playing that old pine tree melody while they are just flailing on the drum.
That leads us perfectly into theme 2, which is disruption. We're going to put the text overlay up. Disrupt the loop. Because if the goal is to keep our rhythm and break theirs, how do we actually execute that? It sounds great in theory, but in the heat of the moment, it is really hard.
It is hard, but Musashi gives us very practical tools for this.
Yeah.
The core concept here is that when things are stuck, you must change something small and decisive to break the stalemate. You have to disrupt the loop, but not attack the person.
Right. There is a specific metaphor in the text that I absolutely love, but I have to admit, it sounds a little bit homicidal if you take it literally. It is the idea of holding down the pillow.
Yes, holding down the pillow.
We will put that on screen too. Hold down the pillow. But please clarify for everyone listening that we are not talking about smothering people in their sleep.
No, absolutely not. It is a translation issue, but a very poetic one. It speaks to suppressing the head of the opponent's intention.
The head of the intention.
Think of a hostile action like a snake lifting its head. Before a snake strikes, it has to coil, it has to lift, it has to orient itself toward the target. Holding down the pillow means you suppress that movement right when it starts. You do not wait for the strike. You stop it at the source.
So you are not blocking the punch, you are preventing the punch from ever being thrown.
Exactly.
Wow.
You are catching the intention before it solidifies into an action.
Can we make this concrete? What does this actually look like in a normal conversation?
It is about noticing letter A before the situation gets all the way to letter Z. Let's say you are in a debate with a colleague. Let's call him Bob.
Okay, Bob.
You know Bob. You know that when Bob gets defensive, he starts using a very specific tone of voice. Or maybe he crosses his arms and leans back in his chair.
We all know a Bob. You see the eyes narrow, you hear the sharp intake of breath.
Right. That is the snake lifting its head. Now, most of us wait. We let Bob launch into his massive defensive rant, which is the strike, and then we try to argue back, which is the block, and that is incredibly inefficient.
That is just force against force.
Holding down the pillow means you intervene right there at the breath intake. You disrupt the pattern immediately. Maybe you ask a clarifying question right then. Maybe you drop a pen to break the silence. Maybe you simply say, Bob, before you go on, I want to agree with your last point.
You interrupt the loop.
You stop the unhelpful loop before it gains any momentum. You don't let it get to letter Z.
But isn't that just interrupting? Isn't that considered rude?
It can be if you do it clumsily. But think of it as steering. If you are driving a car and it starts to drift into the other lane, do you wait until you are fully in oncoming traffic to jerk the steering wheel back?
No, of course not.
You make a micro correction the moment you feel the drift. That is holding down the pillow. It is a micro correction of the conversational dynamic.
That is really powerful.
Yeah.
It shifts it from being aggressive to being highly attentive.
Yeah.
It's about being observant enough to see the tiny seed of the conflict, not just staring at the full-grown tree.
And that requires the background timing we talked about. You have to be actively looking for it. If you are just staring at your phone, you miss the snake lifting its head completely.
There was another tactic mentioned in the Fire Scroll called abdomen timing of 2. Now, I have to be honest with you, this one sounded like a weird dance move or a yoga pose. Abdomen timing of 2. What on earth does that mean?
It essentially is a dance of engagement. It is a specific way to break a really tense deadlock. Imagine you propose an idea and the other side resists. Now you are both just staring at each other. It is incredibly tense.
The classic standoff. I want to raise, no, and then just silence.
The standoff, the abdomen timing of 2, suggests that you feint or relax your posture to induce relaxation in the other person. You pretend to drop your guard. You pretend to back off the intensity.
You exhale. You physically soften your shoulders.
You exhale. And here is the actual science behind why it works. Mirror neurons. When you relax, the other person, biologically, will tend to mirror that state. They will relax slightly without even realizing it. They'll think, oh, the pressure is off.
And the exact moment they relax.
You move. You strike. Not violently, but decisively. You move right into that new space they just opened up.
So going back to the salary negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
I say, I want a raise. They say no. I relax. I say, okay, I understand the budget is tight right now. I lean back. The boss relaxes. Then I immediately say, however, what if we looked at a performance bonus structure instead?
Exactly. You disrupt the loop of tension. You break the rhythm of I push, you push. You turn it into I relax, you relax. Wait, I'm moving forward again.
It feels a little bit manipulative, doesn't it?
Strategy often feels that way if you look at the mechanics. But look at the underlying intent. Are you trying to trick them into something malicious? Or are you trying to break a deadlock that is actively hurting both of you?
That's true.
If the standoff continues, nobody wins. By changing the rhythm, you get things moving again for mutual benefit.
That's a very fair point. It's changing the energy in the room to get unstuck. But to do that, to genuinely relax when you are internally stressed out, you need immense composure.
You do. Musashi calls this the quiescent sword.
The quiescent sword, I love that imagery.
It is the image of a sword that is resting in its scabbard, but completely ready to be drawn. It is outwardly calm, but inwardly alert.
And we have an overlay for this. Calm spirit wins.
You cannot disrupt someone else's rhythm if your own internal rhythm is totally chaotic. If you are freaking out on the inside, your relaxation will look fake. It will look like twitchy, nervous energy. You have to be the anchor in the room. You have to keep your composure while you are changing the pattern.
I want to move to the third thing, which is adaptation. Because disruption is great. We've broken the loop. We've stopped the snake. But once you've disrupted things, you actually need to know where you're going next.
Right. You can't just break the pattern and stand there looking around. You have to move somewhere productive.
And the metaphor here is crossing at a ford, which is another overlay. Crossing at a ford. Now, for our modern listeners, a ford isn't a vehicle here. It's a shallow place where you can safely cross a river. But Musashi uses it to mean a critical moment of decision, right?
Yes. Crossing at a ford represents the critical moment to fully commit to an action. It is like crossing a wide sea or a strait. You don't just blindly wander into the ocean, you wait.
You wait for what, exactly?
You wait for the proper conditions. The text says you must know the route, you must know the soundness of your ship, and you must wait for the favorable wind.
So it is heavily about preparation and timing. You don't just launch a product randomly. You launch when the market is ready, which is the wind, and when the product is completely ready, which is the ship.
It is, but here is the major catch, and this is the core of adaptation. What happens if the wind suddenly changes?
The text had a really great line about this. It said, if the wind changes, you must row.
You must row. It is such a remarkably simple instruction, but it is profound. Imagine you have set sail, you have your beautiful plan, you are crossing the ford, and halfway across, the wind just dies entirely.
Most people, and I absolutely include myself in this, would panic. Or we would just complain. Oh, the wind died. This is so unfair. The universe is plotting against me.
Or they would just sit there in the water and wait for the wind to come back. They'd think, I'll just wait here until conditions are perfect again. Musashi says, absolutely not. The goal is to cross the water. That objective remains steady.
And here is our next overlay. Adapt, method, keep objective.
The objective is fixed, but the method must shift from sailing to rowing instantly and without a single word of complaint.
That is the pure definition of resilience. The goal remains the exact same, but the tool you use changes on the fly.
And this connects deeply back to the water scroll we discussed previously. The source mentions the water scroll leaking into the fire scroll. That mental flexibility, that water-like quality, is what allows for the tactical disruption of fire.
So if a direct approach fails,
You shift the angle.
if logic fails,
You shift to narrative. You tell a story instead.
if being serious fails,
You shift to humor. You have to be completely adaptable in your tone and your framing. You are still trying to cross the ford. You are still trying to get your point across or solve the problem. But you have to be willing to row if the wind of logic just isn't blowing anymore.
I think this is where a huge number of us get stuck. We fall in love with our plan. We fall in love with the idea of sailing. We think, I'm a sailor, I do not row. And when we are forced to row, we feel like we've failed. We feel like it's beneath our dignity.
That is pure ego talking. Musashi warns against that constantly. He says the only thing that actually matters is effectiveness. The no-nonsense approach. Did you cross the water? Yes. Then it does not matter one bit if you sailed or rowed. The history books won't care about the wind. They will only care that you made it to the other side.
I want to talk about the guardrails now. Because whenever we talk about being fire or being disruptive, there is a massive danger of taking it way too far. We've all seen the self-proclaimed disruptor in the office who is really just a chaotic jerk.
Absolutely. There are some very important distinctions to make to keep this ethical and productive. Musashi is definitely not advocating for anarchy.
Okay, first guardrail. Disruption is not chaos.
Right. Changing the rhythm does not mean acting randomly. You don't just scream in the middle of a meeting to disrupt the loop. That isn't strategy. That is a tantrum. It has to be purposeful. It has to serve the ultimate goal of crossing the ford.
Second one, adaptation is not inconsistency.
This is a huge one for leaders. Changing your methods rowing instead of sailing does not mean you lack principles. It means you are deeply committed to the outcome. If you change your goal constantly, that is inconsistency. That just confuses your team. But if you change your method to reach the exact same goal because the environment shifted, that is strategy. That builds confidence.
And the third one, which I think is the most important guardrail for the fire scroll, intensity is not anger.
This is critical.
We'll put the overlay up. Intensity is not anger.
There is a fantastic anecdote in the source material from a karate master's interpretation of Musashi. It is the angry wife story.
I have to laugh at that one. I love this. It's so relatable for anyone in a relationship. Break it down for us.
So the source describes a scenario we pretty much all know. A husband comes home. The wife is upset. She is picking at him, maybe nagging him about something he forgot to do. She is bringing the heat. She is bringing the fire.
She is initiating the engagement.
Now, if the husband matches that fire with anger, if he matches intensity with rave, what happens? He yells back, "Why are you always on my case?"
The source says he ends up in the doghouse.
He sleeps in the doghouse. He completely loses. And why? Because an angry spirit narrows your focus. Musashi explicitly warns that anger blinds you. You lose the background timing. You forget that you actually love this person. You forget that maybe she's just exhausted from a hard shift. You only see the insult placed directly in front of you.
So what is the strategic alternative?
The alternative is the husband who maintains a calm spirit. He sees the fire, but he does not catch fire himself. He disrupts the anger with kindness. He says, "You know what? You're right. I did forget that. I'm really sorry. Let me fix it right now." Or he makes a gentle joke. He disrupts the loop.
He holds down the pillow of the argument.
Exactly. And the result?
He sleeps in his own bed.
He sleeps in his own bed. He wins, not because he overpowered her, not because he logically proved he was right, but because he controlled the intensity. He didn't let the fire consume him. He used the fire of his own clarity to diffuse the entire situation.
It brings us right back to that core idea. A busy spirit is a weak spirit. An angry spirit is a blind spirit.
Yes, rhythm is not rushing. If you are rushing, you are weak. If you are calm, you are strong.
So what does this all mean in the real world? We've got the theory, we've got the metaphors. Let's look at our three practical scenarios: work, relationships, and habits. Let's start with work.
Okay, scenario 1, the stuck negotiation.
We have all been there. You are in a meeting room. The air is totally stale. Both sides are repeating the exact same points over and over. We need more budget. We can't give you more budget, but we need it. But we can't. It is a total deadlock. It's boring, and it's deeply frustrating.
The Musashi fix here is to change the pacing.
How do you do that without just storming out of the room?
You stop talking.
You just stop.
Silence is a massive disruptor. If the rhythm has been talk, counter talk, talk, counter talk, and suddenly you introduce complete silence, you have broken the pattern.
That is incredibly uncomfortable, but people hate silence.
It is very uncomfortable. And that is exactly why it works. It forces the other side to reset. They start thinking, why did he stop? Is he angry? Is he thinking? Did I say something wrong? You have shifted the dynamic from a verbal tennis match to a moment of deep reflection.
Or what if you just simplify the argument?
Yes. You apply the no design, no conception principle. You stop over-planning the complex argument. You stop trying to play complex chess. You strike with one simple, completely honest truth. In the text, it is called the body strike.
So instead of a massive explanation about market forces and projections, you just say, we aren't going to make the deadline if we don't hire 2 people.
Just that. No fluff. No corporate jargon. Just the raw truth. It cuts through the noise like a knife. It usually shocks the room back into reality.
Okay, scenario 2. Relationships, the heated conversation.
This goes back to the pillow metaphor. You are in a conversation that is spiraling. You can feel the other person's agitation rising. Their voice is getting higher. They're starting to use absolute words like always and never.
The impulse is rising. The snake is lifting its head.
Right. The fix is to break the loop with calm clarity. Do not react to the anger. Instead, ask a reset question.
What exactly is a reset question?
It's something that forces them to switch from their emotional brain, the amygdala, to their logical brain. A question like, what is the specific thing you are worried about right now? Or even just saying, hold on, let's sit down for a
I
second.
mean, changing the physical state helps too, right?
Hugely. If you are standing up, sit down. If you are sitting, stand up and go get a glass of water. If you are shouting, lower your voice to a quiet whisper. If you change the physical rhythm, the emotional rhythm has to follow it. You are holding down the pillow of the emotional explosion.
I really love that. It's highly practical. It's about managing the physics of the argument. All right, scenario 3. Habits, the procrastination loop.
This is a battle against yourself. You are stuck in a loop of avoiding a necessary task. You are scrolling on your phone, you're cleaning the kitchen, you are organizing your desktop icons, you are doing absolutely anything but the work.
The resistance. We've all felt it.
The fix here is to disrupt the environment and use identity-based habits.
The source material actually mentioned James Clear's work here.
Yes. The idea is to prove it to yourself. You need to take one clean action. Do not try to finish the entire project that is too big. That creates fear and paralysis. Just disrupt the current state of not working.
So just open the document.
Open the document. Write a single sentence. That is it. You have successfully shifted the rhythm from static to moving. You have crossed the ford. Once you are moving, it is so much easier to keep moving, but you have to break the deadlock of inertia first.
It is taking that abdomen timing of 2 and applying it directly to your own brain. Relax the pressure of, I have to finish this massive thing, and just strike with, I will start.
Exactly. You trick your brain into engagement.
These are great, and I want to make this really tangible for the listener. We've talked about the theory, but let's do a practical reset right now. We have a guided exercise called the rhythm reset,
It's a great tool.
and we'll put the overlay up. Reset your rhythm.
This is a sequence you can do anytime you feel overwhelmed or stuck. It is very quick. You can do it at your desk, in your car, anywhere at all.
Let's walk through it. I'm going to do it with you. Step 1.
Step 1. Pause and soften the body. Musashi warns against the stiff posture. If your shoulders are up around your ears, drop them. Release your jaw. Unclench your hands. You simply cannot have good rhythm in a stiff, tight body.
Okay. Shoulders down, jaw loose. I feel that. Step 2.
Step 2. Name the objective in one single sentence. What is the crossing the ford goal? Not the worry, not the problem you are facing, the goal itself. I want to finish this email. I want to de-escalate this fight. I want to get home safely.
Got it. I want to finish this recording. Step 3.
Step 3. Notice the current rhythm. Be completely honest with yourself. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it tense? Is it scattered? Just observe the background timing.
Okay. I am rushing a bit. Feel a bit buzzy. Step 4.
Step 4. Choose one small change that shifts the rhythm.
Give us some examples of a small change.
You could slow the pace of your breathing, shorten the message you were trying to write, ask one clarifying question, change the setting by moving to a different room. Just one small, deliberate shift.
Okay. I'm going to consciously slow my breathing. Step 5.
Step 5. Say one steady phrase out loud that matches calm intensity.
Like a personal mantra?
It could be, or just a simple statement of intent. I am handling this. Steady, focus, something that acts as an anchor for you.
Steady. I like that one. And the final step, step 6.
Step 6. Take one proof action right away. Do the thing. Cross the ford. Don't hesitate.
That is a remarkably powerful sequence. Pause, name, notice, shift, speak, act.
It breaks the loop. It puts you back in the driver's seat. Instead of being carried away by the fire, you become the fire.
I can see how this applies to pretty much everything. It really is a universal strategy.
Yeah.
But I also know there are pitfalls. What are the common mistakes people make when they try to apply the fire scroll?
There are 5 big ones we should watch out for.
All right, mistake 1.
Mistake 1 is mistaking speed for rhythm. We have hammered this point, but it really is the most common one. We falsely think if we move faster, we are winning.
And the fix.
Slow down to find the beat. Be the old pine tree, not the frantic drummer.
Yeah.
Listen for the open space between the notes.
Mistake 2.
Waiting too long to cross the ford.
Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. You are waiting for the perfect wind, and the perfect wind never actually comes.
We have our final overlay for this. Expect nothing. Be ready.
The fix here is when conditions are right, not perfect, but right, set sail immediately. Don't hesitate.
Mistake 3.
Matching the opponent's angry rhythm, this is the angry wife scenario. If you match fire with fire, you just get a much bigger fire. You burn the entire house down.
The fix for that.
Be the quiescent sword. Calm surface, ready spirit. Be the water that absorbs and diffuses the heat.
Mistake 4.
Rigidly sticking to a plan when the wind changes.
The I must sail mentality. But I made a whole slide deck about sailing.
Right. The fix is simple. Start rowing. Adapt the tool. Don't complain about the wind. Focus entirely on the crossing.
And mistake 5.
Focusing on the small details and missing the big picture. This is getting completely obsessed with foreground timing and completely missing background timing.
And the fix.
Look up. Look at the whole dynamic. Look at the rise and fall of the situation, not just the specific words someone just said. See the forest, not just the single burning tree.
This has been absolutely incredible. I feel like I have a completely different understanding of what fire means in this strategic context. It's not about burning out. It is about burning bright and clear.
It is clarity. That is the perfect word for it.
Let's recap the key takeaways from the fire scroll for everyone.
Let's boil it down.
First point.
Fire is about controlled intensity and actively reading the momentum of the situation.
Next.
Rhythm is your greatest tool. Avoid the busy spirit of rushing.
Third.
When a situation is stuck, disrupt the pattern, not the person.
Fourth point.
Use the tactic of holding down the pillow to stop unhelpful loops before they gain speed.
Next.
Cross the ford when conditions align, but be absolutely ready to row if the wind dies.
Sixth point.
Maintain a calm spirit. True intensity does not require anger.
And finally,
Keep your objectives steady even when your methods must adapt.
that is a complete toolkit for life right there.
It really is. It takes practice, just like Musashi says. You must investigate this thoroughly. You can't just hear it once. You have to do it. You have to practice the rhythm in the small, everyday things so you have it ready for the big things.
And speaking of investigating thoroughly, we are not done with the Book of Five Rings quite yet.
No, we have one more scroll to go, the final piece of the mosaic.
Next time, we are stepping into the wind. Or rather, the wind scroll.
Yes, the wind scroll.
Tease that for us a little bit. What is the wind scroll about? Because it sounds very gentle.
It sounds gentle, but it is actually quite sharp. The wind scroll is where Musashi critiques all the other schools. But the core lesson for us is about avoiding bias and keeping things simple. It covers how to strip away the showy techniques and the ancient biases that cloud our judgment. If fire is about active engagement, wind is about style and substance. It's about removing the clutter from your mind.
Avoid bias. Keep it simple. I love that. I really can't wait to get into it.
It is going to be a fascinating discussion.
This has been a true exploration. I feel clearer already.
Stay rhythmic out there.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Pass Tat.